everybody, Jill Allen here from Jill Allen and Associates, and I am the owner and founder of a consulting group that specializes in startup practices and doctors who've been in practice 8 years or less, and or their team members for that matter. Today I am going to be talking about a topic that I'm kind of calling this a pop-up talk, about a topic that I've had a lot of my clients and treatment coordinators asking me about recently, and it tends to come up a lot right around this time of the year, and it's how to best utilize flex spending accounts in your practice. So usually about this time of year, about mid-November through the end of December, you have a lot of patients that are going to be coming in and they need to use up their flex benefits before the end of the year. And this can be a really exciting thing for some practices because they're like, oh gosh, we got somebody that's really excited to start. But it can also be a little difficult because you just don't run into this very much and not quite sure how you want to handle it. So I'm going to give you just a few little pointers on how to work with contracts just through the end of the year with flex spending accounts, and also maybe how to deal with patients that are getting some new insurance and maybe are kind of deciding on whether they're going to want to start treatment now or wait until the beginning of the year. So first, let's talk about those health spending accounts. Now, there are a couple different ways that flex spending accounts are set up, but generally a patient has a certain amount of money, usually it's about $2,500, that they set aside at the beginning of the year or the previous year, and they dedicate it towards medical expenses. And one of the really great things is orthodontics is a medical expense. So these patients come in and usually a certain amount of money is deducted pre-taxed from their paycheck, and they get that money just kind of sits there in a holding account until they turn in receipts, and then they get to pull that money out. So I usually say it's about a 20 to 25% savings for the patient on every dollar that they're spending. So if they kind of look at it in regard to if it's a $5,000 treatment and they're going to spend some of that with pre-taxed money, they're getting a 25% discount just off of the top by utilizing their flex money. So it's a really great plan for the patients. It's a great way for them to save money. And for you as an orthodontic office, it's a great way for you to maybe get a little extra cash into the practice towards the end of the year if you just start talking about it. So if you've got patients that are coming in and they have this flex money, they may be coming in saying, gosh, I still have a whole $2,500 to spend, or I still have $500 that I need to spend, or whatever the amount is that they know they have to spend up and use before the last day of the year. So what I want to tell you is that each of you, treatment coordinators, doctors, orthodontic practices, you make the decisions on how you want to set up your contract. The baseline is your fee doesn't change. The deduction that we take out for insurance doesn't change, but how we decide we want our patient account to pay out, we have some control over. So when you're looking at these flex accounts and how do we help a patient, one of the things you may want to do is have them start their down payment, let's just say, with what is left in their flex account. So maybe for December of 2020, you take a down payment from the patient of $300 because that's what they had left in their flex account, or $800 because that's what they had left in their flex account. And then what you do is you set up the remaining contract. If they then want to use their flex money for the remainder of the treatment, then maybe be flexible and say, okay, now in January, we're going to set you up for another payment of $2,500 because that's what you're electing for the following year, or that's what you have elected. And then maybe this is a 2-year treatment. And then we're going to finish up the balance of that contract in the following year, so year 2, because we're kind of year 2020, 21, 22, and then that's when they're going to pay out the balance with that flex money. So now the patient is able to utilize that flex spending money that they still have to spend. They are then able to utilize a payment in 20 and a payment in 21 and 22. And they're going to be able to get this wonderful 20 to 25% tax savings off of this pre-taxed money that they have to spend on a medical expense. So why not spend it in your office? So that's one option. Another way is sometimes a patient isn't quite ready to start treatment, but maybe there's something that you need to do or could do to help them prior to getting started. So let's say they have a small amount, I don't know, I'm going to use 300 again. And maybe they're an OBS patient that they aren't quite ready to get going, but you know that you could take some records and really do a good workup, and there could be a value to that. Well, what I would suggest doing is billing them for a records appointment for the amount of flex money that they have left to spend. And then that provides them with an invoice that they need to turn in to use that flex money. And then that balance, that amount that they've spent, then gets applied towards treatment when they get started. So we're using that money to help them solve a problem. They need to use up their money. They want to be able to use it towards orthodontics. You could do a scan in your office. You could do a records appointment. You could do something diagnostic, whatever it takes for you to help get them ready. Use that money, and then it'll be applied towards treatment when it gets going. So those are just a few little great tips that you can do with flex spending. A couple things to remember. Usually with most flex spending accounts, a patient is going to need some type of an invoice to show that there was a bill for the service and then there was a payment. Some HSA accounts are going to ask that they actually seek a contract when it's in regard to orthodontics. So if there are specifics about that, I always have the patient get involved and help us find out what their company needs before we write up a contract. And then the last thing is, remember that a lot of these patients are now coming in with flex spending cards. And so what that means is these cards are usually pre-populated with a whole bunch of money on it right in the beginning, but they tend to have daily spending limits. And so what that means is if you're going to go do a $1,200 draft for a down payment, that credit card for their HSA, could decline. Now, that doesn't mean that the money's not there. It just means that you need to do a little due diligence on your end with your team. Call ahead. Let the HSA, have the patient let the HSA company know that they are getting ready to do a charge for $1,200. They'll open up that limit. That charge will go through. Payment, money in your bank. So nice and simple. So those are just some little tips that I thought would be super helpful for you as you are finishing up your year. I would suggest from here till the end of the year that you are looking to ask your patients, every patient that comes in, do you have any health spending money? Do you have any flex money that you need to use up before the end of the year? It's an easy question. It's low-hanging fruit. It's an easy way to get production on your books. So that kind of finishes it up with HSA. Now I'm going to touch on one more quick point, and that has to do with patients getting new insurance. So a lot of times at this time of the year, we have patients that are either one, coming in saying, I'm losing my insurance and I need to spend my $1,000 before the end of the year. Now, if any of you have been doing insurance, you know, like I do, that insurance does not pay out a lump sum. So you have to let your patients know that as much as we'd love to take your $1,000 and help use that money up, it's not up to us. It's up to the insurance company. They only pay a percentage of a down payment when you get started. So we can at least get, you know, maybe $300 to $400 of that $1,000 to go towards treatment. And then when you get a new insurance next year, we can just bill that and they'll just pick up right where the other one left. So we just want to keep it really simple. Let them know we can help them where we can. The other thing is, think about this. If a patient is getting insurance in January and you know that that insurance plan does not have a pre-existing clause, and the patient really, and you would really like them to get started in December, but they want to be able to use that insurance benefit, well, why don't you do something like be a little bit more flexible? Maybe you let them get started with their down payment, you know, a smaller down payment. I usually suggest no less than $500 for a full start. and then let them know that we will bill that insurance in the next year. So really work on being flexible with the patient so that you can get that start in December, knowing that we can work with them and their insurance when it comes to January. It's very rare that we do have those plans out there that will not let us bill, just a month into treatment. So there's some little tips for you. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season as we wrap up 2020, and our coffee talks will be coming back in January. Have a great day.